If you can't admire Joe Biden as a person, then it's probably you got a problem. You need to do some self-evaluation. Because what's not to like? Here's what I can tell you. That life can change just like that. Don't take it for granted. Don't take relationships for granted. I called him after Bo died. And he basically said, well, Bo was my soul. We've talked for a long time. He came to my ceremony and said some of the most incredibly heartfelt things that anybody could ever say to me. And he's the nicest person I think I've ever met in politics.
I believe that the president has learned from this case.
Mounted police to clear what has been an entirely peaceful protest.
The president was impeached. That's a pretty big lesson.
200,000 people have died from COVID-19.
I wanted to always play it down.
I believe he will be much more cautious.
Will you commit to a peaceful transferal of power?
Well, we're going to have to see what happens.
I'm very concerned.
Midas Touch is responsible for the content of this advertising.
I want to talk about the worst Congress maybe ever. Well, there was that time that one senator tried to kill another senator. Damn near got it done. But they got a lot more done in that Congress than this one did. Well, that wasn't too long ago. I'm talking about the other time. Apparently this House has only passed 34 bills. Which, my gosh, I'm surprised that, much like Iowa's, 100,000 Republican turnout, that their caucus is so small.
Leaders worship multiculturalism because all cultures are equal, except they're not all equal.
Our civilization is superior, and we need to defend it.
Latin American countries are forcing demographic change on this country at a rate that American voters consistently say they don't want. We have a moral obligation to admit the world's poor, they tell us, even if it makes our own country poorer and dirtier and more divided. Isn't it crowding your country the fastest way to despoil it, to pollute it?
Maybe that's because of things like Tommy Tuberville.
My opinion of a white nationalist, if somebody wants to call him white nationalist, to me is an American. It's an American. Now, if that white nationalist is a racist, I'm totally against anything that they want to do.
Screwing our fighting men.
I want somebody that's in our military, that's strong, that believes in this country. That's an American that will fight along anybody, whether it's a man or woman, black or white, red, it doesn't make any difference.
Hundreds being screwed out of pay and rank because Tommy Tuberville had a hard-on for a re-election. Of course, you also got people like Lindsey Graham.
I want you to use my words against me. And you know how you make America great again? Tell Donald Trump to go to hell. I think he's crazy. Donald is like being shot in the head. If Donald Trump cares to banner my party, I think it taints conservatism for generations to come. The leader of the Republican Party, Donald Trump, he's the most consequential Republican since Ronald Reagan. He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. No, I don't think he's a xenophobic, race-baiting, religious bigot. You know what concerns me about the American press is this endless attempt to label the guy as some kind of kook, not fit to be president. I think he's a kook. He's not fit to be president of the United States. He's a jackass. Yeah, I like the president. I'm saying my party is completely screwed up. And you could use my words against me and you'd be absolutely right.
My God, could there be a lower life form?
Tried to sit down in a bipartisan way. Senator Murphy, Sinema, Lankford, and others sat down to come up with a bipartisan proposal that I thought did a pretty good job in many ways. However, having said that, I didn't think it was enough. I was hoping to be able to build on what they did, but here's where we're at.
NATO was busted until I came along. I said, everybody's going to pay. One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want.
Hey, Belgium, nice little country you got here. Why don't you fork over the cash? Let's just say you're going to sleep with the waffles.
So now I can't even vote. We've closed out the border debate, and you may give me a few amendments on Ukraine about the border. That's not the way it works around here. So
to a question?
No. To my House colleagues, you can do better than this. Don't send us back H.R. 2. It's not going anywhere. You know, you couldn't get all Republicans for H.R. 2. We lost one Republican and no Democrat. So this idea we've done enough on the border is BS. I am not done. I'm not going to help Ukraine until we first do a better job helping ourselves.
Perhaps the biggest weenie is Josh Hawley. Look how tough he is.
Manhood. You'd hope that means courage. Courage isn't something you can give speeches or write a book about. It's not sitting on the sidelines while others sacrifice, or denying help to those who did. It isn't putting people down or trying to control them, or using your own power for profit or ambition. In Missouri, you can't fake courage. We're the showy state. If you want to be told about manhood, some guy wrote a book about it. But if you want someone to show you courage, send Lucas Kuntz to the Senate.
And we'll always remember that chariot of fire that he was on January 6th. It's not like the House is much better. I mean, look at this shit.
Favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 5-minute vote.
On this vote, the yeas are 214 and the nays are 213. The resolution is adopted.
I'm sorry, I just got to take a quick break and go cry in a closet while squeezing a stuffed animal.
Marjorie Taylor Greene's clearly an idiot.
Stop calling Tommy Tuberville a racist simply because he talked about having white skin and being a nationalist.
My amendment has nothing to do with whether or not colored people or black people or anybody can serve.
Moscow, where I'd never been, the biggest city in Europe, 13 million people. And it is so much nicer than any city in my country.
I love President Trump in my estimation as far as the performance, as far as what he did. I think he is the most godly president in my lifetime.
They drop us like a dog, like a female drops a male after a date because he doesn't like her.
The skull of the African here, the area associated with submissiveness, is larger than any human or any other subhuman species on planet Earth.
He's not the only idiot.
Sure. But isn't it your responsibility and the members of Congress to do something about it?
And when answering, try to step as hard and deep into a pile of dog as possible.
Yes. No, it's actually the president's responsibility.
You think it's fine that someone who tried to overturn a legitimate election is still on a board that
Democrat electors have done that
certifies.
Repeatedly. Democrats have done the same thing.
In Wisconsin,
never tried
there's
to
been
criminalize
fake slates of electors?
No, it's happened in different states. I
Which
didn't
ones,
come
sir?
prepared to give you the exact states, but it's happened.
They'll change the name. They're going to change the name of Pennsylvania.
Yes, they're going to make Pennsylvania woke, okay? They're going to make Pennsylvania trans. They're going to change the name to Transylvania.
Ron Johnson is legitimately retarded.
It's happened repeatedly. It has happened repeatedly. Just go check the books.
Which books?
I mean, there have been alternate slates of electors by Democrat electors in our history. Again, this wasn't what this interview is going to be about. I'll come and I'll provide you the information, but I'm absolutely certain about that.
I look forward to your office sending that information. We'll publish it if it's accurate.
That.
Will we allow the people to continue deciding who will nominate the next justice? Or will we empower a lame duck president to make that decision on his way out the door instead? The Senate will appropriately revisit the matter after the American people finish making in November the decision they've already started making today.
If the Supreme Court justice was denied next year, what would you do?
We'd fill it.
Mitch McConnell's not retarded. He's pure evil. Well, I'm not exactly sure where his mental state is now, because of the, maybe he's retarded now.
Waiting for the fish to bite, or waiting for the wind to fly a kite, or waiting around for Friday night, or waiting perhaps for their Uncle Jake, or a pot to boil, or a better break, or a string of pearls, or a pair of pants.
It doesn't mean I have a homosexual crush on them. I'm just saying I appreciate their acting skills. Very strong heterosexual credentials.
You want that guy that he's got his finger on the button. Not that he would push it, but that he's just kind of got a little crazy in there.
But I think Barack Obama has a lot to do with running the country right now.
Donald Trump is a lot of things. A liar is not one of them.
What? We have a socialistic government. If we have Marxism, you are going to be the first ones who will be cut off.
Marsha Blackburn is a bimbo that wanted to be a real girl.
Because the state would have to approve your music. And, you know, Taylor Swift came after me in my 2018 campaign, but Taylor Swift would be the first victim of that, because when you look at Marxist socialist societies, they do not allow women to dress or sing or be on stage or to entertain or the type music that she would have.
Marsha. Yes.
She's like if MAGA came to life as a little cunt Pinocchio doll. Something like that.
The green M&M got her boots back, but apparently is now a lesbian, maybe?
Is also a real boy. This motherfucker actually exists. I'm not making him up.
All out this evening, and there will be for months. We are admitting that we lied to you for saying the wrong things about the 2020 election. Now, why is that? Well, the truth is, Donald Trump lost the election. And no, we didn't tell you because we don't care what you think. Now,
sorry. Facts suck for y'all.
Independent journalist Tucker Carlson has flown to Russia from the U.S. via Turkey to Vnukovo Airport. He saw Spartacus Ballet at the Bolshoi Theater, had lunch in a nice restaurant, went for a ride around town, rode the subway. He charged his smartphone via a USB port and connected to a fast and free Wi-Fi internet.
Speaking of not making him up, oh my goodness. Could you imagine if Ayn Rand and a fucking Muppet had a love child? I don't mean one of the good Muppets. I'm talking about, like, you know, Oscar the Grouch on crystal meth.
Seek to amend this legislation, not because I take it or I take lynching lightly, but because I take it seriously. And this legislation does not.
Just as an example.
The idea that we would not be taking the issue of lynching seriously is an insult.
I do not need my colleague, the senator from Kentucky, to tell me about one lynching in this country.
Tucker was on fire like a cross on a black family's lawn.
You would get Rand Paul. This guy's pure evil. He actually has always been pure evil because, you know, he based his life on Ayn Rand. Motherfucker's named after her. But he showed that he's got no spine whatsoever. The heart, the essence, really, of MAGA republicanism. The lack of a spine.
Maybe you've heard about what was the largest Medicare fraud in history committed when Rick Scott was a CEO, or that Scott's company paid record fraud fines of $1.7 billion. And when Scott was deposed in lawsuits about his company, he took the fifth 75 times, meaning 75 times Scott refused to answer questions, because if he had, he might admit to committing a crime.
A perfect example of that, Rick Scott. At the time, this motherfucker was involved in the largest Medicaid fraud in American history. $1.9 billion he had to pay. 20-something felonies. And then he ran for Senate. Republicans thought, that's our boy. And nobody is as much of an invertebrate. That's more of a mushy pile than my home state senator, Raphael Ted Cruz.
Tonight, Texas Senator Ted Cruz under fire as his state was suffering one of the worst natural disasters in Texas history. Cruz and his family were spotted last night getting out of Dodge, flying to Cancun for a beach vacation.
All you need to know about this motherfucker is that he changed his name to Ted. Not Theodore, Ted.
Returned this morning and tonight attempted some damage control.
And our girls, when they got the news that school was canceled this week, they said, "Look, why don't we take a trip? Let's go somewhere where it's not so cold."
He blames it on his daughter. This guy fucking sucks.
You know, I have to admit, I started having second thoughts almost the moment I sat down on the plane.
I very much want common sense immigration reform to pass.
If Congress focused on the areas of bipartisan agreement, we could craft an immigration bill that would sail through Congress. Yes, he should work with Congress. We should compromise.
So are you saying that there's no reason to have a border bill?
We don't need a border bill. We don't need a border bill. We don't need a border bill.
All these people worship at the altar of their king, the Messiah, Donald Trump, and they will do whatever he says. And today, it looks like new speaker's gone. And maybe that's right.
Is going to leave a huge white power vacuum.
They flock to the whim of whatever the master says. Donald Trump's been impeached multiple times. Quick, impeach Joe Biden.
How precisely is diversity our strength? Do you get along better with your neighbors or your coworkers if you can't understand each other or share no common values? White supremacy, that's the problem. This is a hoax.
And he's the nicest person I think I've ever met in politics.
Is that right?
He is as good a man as God ever created, and we don't agree on much.
You know, I actually think you'd have been better off answering, spinning the bow tie, throwing a smoke bomb, and getting the out of the room. Bottom line is this.
Oh, sure. Go after Joe Biden. I'm sure that's your only game. Because you've got to save your king.
We're living through. But it is definitely not about black lives. And remember that when they come for you, and at this rate they will. We have every right to fight to preserve our nation and our heritage.
Someone called Ice Spice, who was hanging out with leftist icon Taylor Swift,
quickly says that President Trump is saying you will be energy dominant very soon.
Are you still a Marxist?
Working harder than an ugly stripper.
Most of these people aren't homeless simply because they have no money and they have no home.
Affluent white white liberals, female liberals. Affluent white female liberals, awfuls. And it's so fitting.
Because MAGA Republican voters all across America, and certainly everybody in the House and Senate, have to save the pimp that's whoring them out. I tell you what, you bitches better have his money. I'm Zachariah, Lone Star Liberal. Y'all take it easy.
I was one of those none of ever aboves. I was one of them.
The backing of CIA, of course. The organization you wanted to join back in the day, as I understand. We should thank God they didn't let you in.